Right, this video is a bit of a bits and pieces video. There are a few loose ends that I want to tie up. At the end of this video, I will be announcing the results of the Trekology giveaway. Now, this turned out to be a bit of an adventure all by itself, but I did get there with it in the end. So at the end of this video, I will post up the winners and which prizes those winners have won and how to go about claiming your prize. Now, the main subject of this video is how to look after your brushed aluminium engine casings on your bike, because I know this is something that causes people a lot of problems and worry. But first things first, the Motone giveaway of those false AMAL carburetor covers or throttle body covers, whatever you want to call them. Please be aware this throttle body cover only fits the Triumph T120, the Thruxton R, the Bobber Black and the Speedmaster. It doesn't fit any of the other water-cooled twins, and it doesn't fit any of the older air-cooled twins. Only those who own those motorcycles stated or are about to take delivery of one will be entered into the draw. Right, the brushed alloy engine casings. I think on average for the last year and a half, I've received about 3 emails or messages via Facebook per week from viewers that are having problems with their engine cases. Now, there are several scenarios that I've come across. One is that they've not used any form of engine dressing on those cases and they've started to discolour. The other, and this is the most common one, is that the boot or the hem of the jeans have been rubbing against the cover and they've caused like a dark spot or a dark mark where it's polished the metal up. Another obvious one is scratches, and another problem that I've come across is that people have used an alloy wheel cleaner to try and clean the engine cases. Now, alloy wheel cleaners by and large are acid based. It will be a dilute acid, and it's okay if you follow the instructions to the letter and rinse the stuff off straight away or within the time limits stated on the product. But what tends to happen is this stuff gets behind those sort of fake engine inspection covers. It sits there, some of the water in that compound evaporates away, it becomes more concentrated, and then when you start moving the bike around, it leaks out and etches into the metal. Now, by and large, these sort of problems with these engine cases, I know that people end up pulling the hair out over it. And I've even known people go to the extremes of buying new engine cases at sort of £280, £300, whatever the cost, having them powder coated, or even buying the powder coated ones in from Triumph at an exorbitant cost. And I'll tell you now, unless this damage is really deep and severe, there is absolutely no need. It is a really easy job to sort out. Now, I don't agree with Triumph with a lot of things that they've done on these bikes, but one thing I do agree with is that these brushed engine casings are probably the most sensible and logical solution to a problem that Triumph could possibly have come up with. Now, I'm aware that they do a chrome plated version now as an accessory, which I think is probably your best bet if you really don't want to mess around with maintenance of your bike. But what a lot of people tend to do is go for the black powder coated version. Now, this is all well and good. It will stop your covers from corroding, but there are a number of issues with it. Like everything, it doesn't last forever. A couple of stone chips is all that is required on this finish for the weather to get underneath, start lifting it off, and corrosion ruining the look of your engine casings. Also, if the hem of your jeans polishes this finish up or this finish gets scratched, there's absolutely nothing you can do with it. You just have to live with it. There's no way of correcting it by having it professionally recoated. The brushed engine casings, on the other hand, are a completely different kettle of fish. Cars and motorcycles are very expensive, shiny objects that travel around at high speeds in a harsh environment, and to that end, it's a recipe for disaster. Over time, they will pick up marks which mar the general appearance. These engine casings have no lacquer on them at all. Now, I think the Japanese experimented in the 1970s and early 1980s with putting a clear lacquer over these sort of casings, whether they be polished or brushed, and the end result was always the same as you get with a black powder coated finish, in that you get a few stone chips, the weather would get underneath, it would turn a milky sort of white colour, the metal underneath would corrode, and before too long you would end up with a bit of a mess. Triumph have purposely left these engine casings without any cover or protectant over them, so that you can easily restore them back to the former glory if anything happens. Now, the tools that you will need for rectifying minor blemishes and scratches on your engine cases are a can of GT85 or similar oil-based maintenance fluid, and this is for lubrication, and a Scotch-Brite pad or Scotch pad, whatever you want to call them. These are a generic product used by the paint trade for scuffing up metal and paint finishes ready to be repainted or refinished. And I would recommend that you have a coarse grade, because for some blemishes it takes a bit more work to get them out, and you might need a coarser grade to make more progress initially with the repair, and a medium grade. Ordinarily you'll get by with a medium grade, and it's certainly the one that you need to be finishing off with if you have used the coarse grade. This stuff is dirt cheap, you can get it from any motor factors. I will have a look on Amazon and see if I can find a link for some that I think will be suitable, and I'll leave a link in the video description. Now, for demonstration purposes, and I can't believe I did this, but it will ultimately save me pages and pages of writing emails back to people trying to explain how to do it. I took a screwdriver and I lightly scratched the surface of the engine casing. Now, I'm not stupid, so I didn't go deep. It was only a light scratch, which was very visible to the eye. I think the problem that I had making this video, it was very early in the morning, the sun was still quite low, and it possibly doesn't show up too well on the video, but I assure you it was visible to the eye. Now, when this happens, what most people do is they reach for the metal polish to try and polish it out, and what happens, whether it's a coarse grade or a fine grade metal polish, is you will end up with a bright area as it starts to gradually mirror polish that area up that you've rubbed on. And what effectively you've done is you've made a bad job worse. You've made it even more visible to the eye. And this is basically what happens when people's boots or clothing rubs up against these engine casings as well. You polish an area up and it starts to stand out from the rest of the finish. Now, as I say, this is my bike and I'm not going to ruin it for the sake of just making a video, so I just went as far as I dare without causing myself a whole lot of work to try and sort this out. I have seen worse, but I've also known people panic over damage which was a lot less severe than this. First thing to do is give the engine casing a wipe down with some sort of cleaner, because you don't want to be rubbing any particles of grit into your engine casing. You need to get a nice clean surface to start with. You don't want to make matters worse. And then, depending on the severity of the damage, choose which of these pads you want to use. I normally go for the medium grade first. Give the area that you're going to treat and the surrounding area a coat of your GT85 or whatever lubricant you're using, and then take a look at the engine casing. These things are brushed on a machine, so generally speaking, the direction of the scratches that causes that brushed finish will run in one direction only. Pay attention to what direction that is, and then using firm but gentle pressure, start to abrade that scratch or damage away using the Scotch pad. If it starts to feel as though it's getting a bit dry, put some more lubricant on. At first, use a linear backwards and forwards motion in the direction of the pattern that makes up that original brushed finish. Have some soft clean cloths handy or some clean workshop wipes. Regularly clear it off and check your progress. And when you're confident that you've actually got rid of that damage, it's time to finish it off. Now, what you'll realise is at the end of each stroke where you've stopped and come back the opposite way, it will leave some odd marks which show up. And in order to get rid of these and blend the whole repair in with the rest of the casing, you need to use what I call a sort of a paintbrush motion, in that you go over the entire area that you've treated it and a little bit beyond it, and you lift the Scotch pad off the casing at the end of each stroke. Only go in one direction, although it can work going in both directions, but just remember to lift the pad off at the end of each stroke. That way you get a graduated end to each of the scratches that you put in, and the whole thing starts to blend in with the existing part of the panel. If necessary, to get a uniform finish, do this all over the casing. It's entirely up to you, although there's usually no need. When you've finished and you're satisfied that it's as good as it's going to get, clean the whole casing off, then give it a liberal coat of your GT85. Initially it might appear quite bright and it just needs a few days to tone down a little bit, but an application of that GT85 does help dull it down. Now, this is one of those jobs that you get better at with practice, and I actually found it took me longer to cause this damage than it did to remove it. In fact, the whole thing took me about 3, maybe 4 minutes. And that's basically all there is to it. It's just a bit of practice and a bit of common sense. Now remember, if you're working near any of those badges, either remove them or mask them up, because these Scotch pads will damage them and you don't want that. Right, hopefully that's put that one to bed now and I won't get any more emails. And as I said, I'll try to post up a link in the video description for the Scotch pads. Right, and now for the bit that you've all been waiting for, and that's the results of the prize draw for the Trekology giveaway. Now, I think I counted about 133 people entered this competition from all over the world. I took the low-tech approach to actually doing the draw. I put everybody's name on a piece of paper, put the paper in a hat, and then with my eyes closed drew out the winners. I also drew out a further 4 runners-up just in case there's any problems getting in touch with the winners, or we found that they live in a country where they can't receive the prize, so that we have someone else in the background as a backup. So starting at the lower prizes first, the pillows, and there are 2 lots of giveaways here, each comprising of 2 pillows, and the winners are Mandy Utley and Colin Midmore. Next up is the convenience prize, and that's 2 giveaways of 1 camping table. The winner has the choice of size and colour of the camping table, and the winners are Tony Limerick and Dave Ude. Next we have the Relax prize, which comprises of 1 camping chair with a sand cover. Again, you have a choice of size and colour. I did check with Trekology and you do have the option of having the high back chair if you want it. As I said, there's 2 sets of 1 chair to give out, and the winners are Amen Motorcycle Adventures and James Jordan. And then finally, the grand prize, that is 2 camping chairs, 2 sand covers, 1 camping table. You have a choice of sizes and colour in the camping chairs and the table, and the winner is Victor Dunn. Right, can I ask all people whose names have been called out and shown on this video to please contact me through the private messaging facility here on YouTube. If you go to the main channel page and then press About, that will bring you onto a page that will give you the facility to message me privately. I'll require from you your full name, your email address and your country of residence. Now, I've spoken to Trekology. If you live in a country that's not included in this prize draw, i.e. the countries that were listed on the original video, you can still be included if you have an alternate address, i.e. a relative or a friend in one of the included countries who is willing to take delivery for you, but then obviously it's up to you to sort out between yourselves and them how they get the prize to you. So that's that. congratulations to all those who have won. My commiserations to those of you who didn't, because they really are lovely pieces of equipment. But I'm sure we will have prize draws for various bits and pieces coming up during this year. So once again, thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it and that you found it useful. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I will be back again next Wednesday, so until then, please ride safely and I'll see you soon.